Okay, good evening, everyone. I hope we have everything up tonight. Last night I didn't have the text. Next, in the future, if I don't have the text up, somebody just give a little chat and tell me that I don't have everything properly. We're just finishing up this chapter. It kind of just came right at the end over there in this chapter of explaining the details of watchfulness. The last thing we talked about was the idea of a person going through this labyrinth of a maze, of a garden maze, and trying to get through the different intricate paths, and every pathway looks the same as the other. And only somebody who's been through the path already is capable of instructing you in this. So Rav Isaac shares notices that there's three types of examples in this sefer so far. Lutzado's giving us in terms of the need for watchfulness. We started in the beginning with a blind man walking on the edge of the river. That was one mashal that was given. And the first thing we have to realize is that we're going on a very dangerous path. And if we're not careful, we're going to fall and die spiritually. No question about it. So that's the first thing. And you can do a lot of terrible averos. The next example he gives is the idea in the beginning of this chapter of the nighttime. Everything's nighttime. This world is a dark world, and not only can you stumble on things, but you're going to something that looks like a person will look like a post. Someone looks like a post looks like a person. So therefore, if we're not watching carefully, the Yetzer Hara will make good like evil, and evil appear like good. And now the third one, with this maze, this guarded maze trying to get through. So what Lutzado is saying now, that even if your vision is clear and you see the evil before your eyes, but you have to understand the long-term consequences of where your path is taking you. And your eyes alone can't be so trusted, because you can't really tell one path from another. And there you've got to counsel with people who've been through the path already. Okay, and now just to end the chapter, right at the bottom over here, Klolo Shel Davar. Okay, to summarize everything in this chapter, a person has to contemplate with his intellect all the time, at every time, ubizman kavulo b'hispaidos, with a set time where he is in solitude, and to think about what is the true path according to the statutes of the Torah that a person should go on. So that's the first point. That's the overall path. Then you can reflect on the individual activities, if they're on the path or not. Now Lutzado concludes, if you do that, he's saying, Vadai shialo nokel. It will certainly be easy for the person. Latayr mikol ra, to purify himself from any evil. Uliyasher kol derachav, and to straighten out all his paths, to correct his paths. And now he quotes two psukim, one from Mishlei and one from Eicha. Tells us to weigh the path of your feet, and all your ways will be established. And of course, the famous pasuk of Nachbesa Derachenu v'Nachkora, let us search out and examine our ways, and we will return to Hashem. So, in conclusion, Rabbeinu Yonah is trying to give us a little bit of chizuk over here in saying, he's giving us a promise. Because after we go through this whole chapter, we could fall into a type of yeush and to figure, this is not possible. We're not going to be able to accomplish this. And so what Lutzado is saying, that not only can we achieve this, but he's saying it'll be easy if we just will listen to the people who have already controlled their Yetzer Hara and be in the people who make a cheshbon hanefesh, and you do it in a fixed way, you will see that it will be easy to purify ourselves from the evil. And, but, well, as long as many times when you're on the outside looking in, it always appears to be extremely hard. But when you finally get going and you start doing it and you set certain times for this, you will find that will be an easy task. Okay, that is the end of this chapter. So now let's see if we can easily put on the next thing on the screen. Give me 1 second. Let's put on the next one and see if we can share this. Give me 1 second here. Share screen. Let's try it again. Yes. Okay, we should have the screen up. The new screen, correct? We're good? Yes? All right, thank you. Okay, we now begin the next chapter, chapter 4, on how we can acquire the watchfulness. Now that we've explained how important Zehirus is, how do we accomplish it? And what he's going to go in broad strokes is going to be addressing 3 different types of people, as we'll see shortly, presenting arguments that should convince whatever level you're on as you're studying the Sefer, you should be convinced of the importance of it and how you're going to be able to accomplish this. So he starts off with an opening line. He says, what will bring a person to Zehirus in general? Hu limud HaTorah. It's the study of Torah. That's Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair that we quoted in the beginning of the book. The brisa leading to all the steps. It says, Torah maybe lidei Zehirus. That Torah brings a person to watchfulness. He's going to get into the details in a second, where the details, if you look, Amnam al derech prat, but what are the particulars that will bring us to watchfulness? Is a person contemplating on the severity of the avodah that a person is obliged to do, and the great depths of judgment that happens from it. We'll explain what all this means in a minute. But he starts off by saying, in general, what brings you to Zehirus is Torah. While the details, we'll get to in a minute. So why is this? Well, it's really a Gemara in Kiddushin that says, Hashem says, Barasi Yetzirah, Barasi Torah Tavlin. I created the Yetzirah and I created a Torah that's a Tavlin, which will loosely translate as an antidote. And the Gemara says, if you toil in the Torah, you will not be delivered into the hands of the Yetzirah. But if you don't toil in Torah, you will be given into the hands of the Yetzirah. No different than the opening Rashi of last week's Parsha, if you'll be amelim b'Torah, if you toil hard in Torah, you will have success against the Yetzirah. And in the next chapter, Lutzado is going to speak very strongly about this. He says, if Hashem says, Hashem only mentions one antidote to the Yetzirah, and that one antidote is the Torah. So you'd be foolish to find any other antidote. Now, he doesn't explain exactly why that is so, but that's just based on the Chazal, as we'll explain a little bit more in a minute. So now let's look at the next statement that we said. What's going to bring you to the details of that, he says, is reflecting on the important service of what's necessary. Okay, now, but back to the Torah aspect over here, it really doesn't matter what kind of Torah you're learning, whether it's Torah Shebechsav, Torah Shebal Peh, Musar works, from the Rishonim, the Achronim, any real Torah that you're learning Yishma will arouse a person to his avodas Hashem. And there is something about the Torah, as we said yesterday or the day before, Yisrael v'araisa v'kuchabrichu chadu, the Jewish people, Hashem and the Torah are one. So for us to feel that closeness to Hashem, it comes from any type of Torah that we learn, lishma, for the sake of learning, that just brings us closer to Hashem. We obviously, when you learn Torah, you understand more of the Ratzon of Hashem, what it is. But there's much more mystical understandings, because when we're learning the Torah, really touching on the highest aspects of our neshama in where it interfaces with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So that learning the Torah itself makes us feel closer to Hashem if the Torah is done for the sake of learning Torah, on top of the fact that we know what we have to do. And clearly, when you're studying Torah, you are hooking into a higher wavelength, a much more mature wavelength than just dealing with narishkeit in life. And when a person is much more sophisticated in his spiritual tastes, then the tests of the Yetzer Hara are not that desirable. So that's why learning Torah is always the general thing, but of course we have to go into the details of looking what the Omek Hadin is, the depth of judgment, when we're making this cheshbon hanefesh, as he alluded to in the last chapter. Evaluate what you're going to gain by doing an avera, by the downside of the punishment, and vice versa with a mitzvah. So now he's going to go into much more detail in this particular iyun. The Torah aspect he'll get to in the next chapter, but in this chapter he's going to focus on this idea of the hisbodedus of the Omek Hadin. So he continues in the next paragraph. Yotzalozet comes out, it'll come out from studying that which is written in the holy books, or learning statements from the rabbis of blessed memory, that arouse us to this. Learning certain chazal that arouse us to what is the significance of the judgments and the consequence of what we do will arouse us to this in more detail, as he will discuss right now. He says this reflection, this very different degrees of how it arouse people. And here's the three categories, and I hope we can get to 2 out of the 3 today. Number 1 category is Schlimann Hadas, those who have a wholesome understanding. We'll explain all of these. And those of a lesser understanding. And then finally, ulachol hamon kula, and then to all the general masses. So let's start with the Schlimann Hadas. And of course, each and every one of us can, for ourselves, determine where we find ourselves, where we fit in here. Are we a Schlimann Hadas? Are we psuchim? Are we just the masses? But whoever you are, he has the basis of why you'd be motivated to reflect on these details. L'shleimei hadas, to those who have a wholesomeness of understanding, these are people they're on the right page, where they're supposed to be. They bought into everything that Lutzado's talking about from the beginning of the book till this point. So Tilam Hahara, what's going to be that arousal to get them going? B'mashis barlahem, from which is clarified to them, that perfection is the only thing they should really desire, and nothing short of perfection. And there can be nothing worse in their lives from a lack of perfection and a distance from it. That's the worst thing that can happen. What he really wants, and they're very motivated by that, is to realize that we have to want perfection in our avodas Hashem as much as is possible. Obviously, whatever is humanly possible, we need to be the best Jew we can be, the best Eved Hashem. Anything less than that is not acceptable for them. And why is this? Once this becomes clear to them, once he knows exactly what Hashem wants from him, and he knows what the means of the good actions and the good midos, and this is what gets him on that path. He wants to be close to Hashem. He wants to have dveikus Hashem. That's the Ratzon Hashem. And Hashem says, these are the ways you achieve dveikus. These are the good behaviors, the good midos, and this is how we get it. So if you know that's the equation, he certainly will not be satisfied to diminish achieving those means or in any way to be lenient. He's not looking for leniencies. Because it's clear to them. If they are weak, in these means, or they do not enough of these means, or they're weak, and you're not working on them with as much effort as they demand. So what happens? He knows for sure. He won't achieve complete, true perfection. But he'll be missing from that. Based on what if you diminish in the effort, the results will be diminished as well. And it'll come out at the end, and they're missing, they'll be found missing perfection. Which would be a very sad thing to them and a very bad thing for them. Okay? So what's critical at this point, as Eliyahu Navi said at Har HaKarmel, when he was talking to Jewish people, he said, how long are you going to be posech al shnei hasifim? Wavering between the two branches. You're on the fence, this way, that way. Do you believe in Hashem? Do you believe in the false prophets? The bottom line is you have to want one thing only and not a lot of things, because you're not going to accomplish things. The Chovos HaLevavos tells us that just like fire and water cannot coexist together in one container, so too the love of this world and the love of Olam Haba cannot coexist together in the heart of a person who really believes in Hashem. Now, he doesn't say that those two worlds cannot coexist. They can both coexist, but he says, but the love of both of them cannot coexist because they contradict each other. So therefore, you have to make a decision in life. We're not saying not to live in this world, not to make use of this world, but to love this world independent of loving Olam Haba. You can love this world insofar as if it's used properly, it gets you into Olam Haba. But just a love for this world, for the world itself, it cannot be. So the primary avodah of a person is realize that avodas Hashem and Torah is his life, and without that, he has no life. So that's what he talks about, the Schlimann Hadas. They have a perfect understanding, and they feel if there's anything missing, it's a great calamity to them. Okay? So the first step is a person has to totally devote himself and be moser nefesh for Torah and to try to push out as much as his own selfish personal desires as much as possible to study Torah and do Hashem's avodah lishma. Then you'll have success. Failure is not an option for this person. And therefore, bottom of the page, lo yifkaru ela laharbaso. He's going to choose only to maximize these means, to do as much as possible. He'll be machmir, he'll be stricter, not just to be machmir than other people to show he's more spiritual than others. Nothing with anybody else in the world. He wants to do his avodah with the most perfection possible, b'chol tnaim, with all the conditions. And he will not find rest or peace until he gets that. Lest he will be missing that which will reach that perfection that he's looking for. He's not going to stop till he reaches it. It's no different than, example, the mashal of a doctor who's dealing with a sick patient and he cares about the patient and he can't figure out what's wrong with the patient. He's going to take every diagnostic test until he'll find out exactly what the problem with the patient is, how he can take care of the patient, and he doesn't rest until he knows that everything is taken care of and the patient's ready to go, the treatments, the medications, everything. He's left no stone unturned. It's no different than trying to deal with this COVID virus. There's two ways of trying to deal with it. One is we've got to solve the issue. Got to solve the virus. We got to cure the sick people, come up with a vaccine. We have to do it. Failure is not an option. We can't just, be relaxed about this. We got to try our hardest to get it taken care of. The same thing with the Schlimann Hadas. These people, they know they have to do everything they can at their disposal to be able to accomplish this perfection. This is what Shlomo says, Ashrei Adam Mefachei Tamid. Fortunate the person who's always afraid. But the Gemara over there explains, it doesn't mean afraid of physical dangers, but the Gemara over there explains, B'divrei Torah ksiv. It's talking about words of Torah, which really means spiritual matters. So a spiritual matter is the most important thing to him in his life. And that's a Schlimann Hadas. Now he's described these people. And since he's described these people, you're going to figure, well, what motivation do they still need? They seem to be pretty motivated. Well, there's still one more motivation he's going to bring out from them. If you're on the page and you really want to get the best that Hashem has to offer, because that's the Ratz Hashem, you want to do this. So the ultimate level is, the ultimate pinnacle of this level is called Yiras Chet, fear of sin, which means Shehi min ha-mishubach Hashem madregas. That's the highest of the levels. Fear of sin, not fear of punishment, but fear of sin. The word Chet, we know, comes from the word lahachtias hamatara, to miss the target. He's not worried about sinning because he's going to get punished. No, not at all. He's afraid if he does an Avera, he'll miss the target, and that will take away from the shleimus that he's trying to achieve. And now he explains, a person is constantly concerned and worried. Maybe he'll find a little trace of sin that will keep him back from perfection, that he's obliged to make efforts for. He wants his avodas Hashem to be perfect. He's going to be checking every single thing because he knows this is how you get the Olam Haba, this is how you get close to Hashem, this is how you accomplish why Hashem put you in this world, and he wants to succeed in doing the Ratz Hashem, and he's going to see, is there anything I possibly could have done that's not 100% perfect? And therefore the rabbis tell us, Al derech mashal, as an allegory, saying, the Gemara says, Malamed shekol echad nichveh mechupaso shel chavero. Gemara uses an expression that everybody will get, literally, words being burnt from the chuppah of his friend. What does that mean? Well, the Gemara is using analogy, but in the next world, so to speak, everybody has their own chuppah. Everyone has their own canopy. That canopy means the honorable standing that you achieve from your Torah and mitzvahs. So each and every one of us, Mirz Hashem, with our Ben Zug, our life partner, will be in this canopy, and that's where we're going to get all the rewards we're meant to get. But to some extent or another, many people are burnt by the canopy of the fellow Jew. And the Gemara says, woe to such shame, woe to such disgrace. What does that mean to say? We're not talking now about worrying about sins that a person does. Obviously, we have to be careful not to do averos. But now we're talking about good things. We're talking about good midos, good mitzvahs, that a person has to be extra careful in what he's doing. Because the better we do mitzvahs, the greater is the olam haba that we get. So to speak, the seat we have in olam haba is a better seat. And this is called a chuppah. That's the chuppah, the canopy. So the canopy is like your mitzvahs are covering you up. So what he's saying is, in the world of asay tov, of doing mitzvahs, if we find out that we're short and we haven't done the mitzvahs as good as we could have done, and you see that somebody else does it better, you'll, so to speak, be scorched by his canopy. You'll look and say, I could have done better. How could I have not done better? Now the question is, what's the motivation behind this? So now Luzzatto continues and says, Ki ein ze mitam hakina. This is not from what we'll call good old-fashioned jealousy. Asher tipo rak bechisere hadas, that comes to those who are short of intellect. As we're going to talk about in the next group. But rather that he sees himself deficient from the perfect level, that he could have achieved, that his friend achieved. This is what we call a good kina, a good jealousy. Remember, if Hashem created the midah of jealousy, it doesn't mean to say it's a bad midah. It has to be used in the appropriate fashion. So although we're going to learn a little bit later in the Parsha class tonight from the Mishnah Pergelis that kina can drive you out of the world, but it depends what kind of kina that you have. We know, for example, that Rachel was jealous of Leah. And over there, Rashi brings from Chazal, she wasn't jealous that Leah had more kids than her, but she just knew the fact that Leah had more children means that Leah had many more masim tovim than Rachel had. And therefore, she was jealous of her masim tovim. In other words, as the Chazal say, kinas soifrim tarbe chochma. Jealousy among scholars increases knowledge. There's two kinds of jealousy. The negative jealousy is I'm jealous what you have, and if I wish I could have what you have. That's a foolish jealousy because you're not meant to have what another person has. Person has more money than you and you're jealous he has more money than you. That's a very negative thing because that really doesn't define who you are. So if you have more than the other guy, you think you're going to be better. So jealous of what others have and that you want to have more than them, that's not a good jealousy. But jealousy of what others have been able to accomplish, and that's something that you can accomplish as well. And you're saying, if that fellow can be a Talmid Chacham, then why can't I be a Talmid Chacham? If that fellow is about tzedakah, why can't I be about tzedakah? You see, if he gives tzedakah and learns a lot of Torah, it doesn't take away from the fact that I could learn a lot of Torah and that I can be a big baal tzedakah. So this is a jealousy, not that I'm jealous that he has it and I want to have it instead of him, but he's saying, if that fellow was able to accomplish it and let him enjoy his olam haba, let him enjoy his amazing canopy. I don't want to take away his canopy. But if you see that somebody else was able to accomplish it, then why couldn't I have accomplished it? Now, obviously, only if you had the same talents as the other person. Certainly no one's going to be burnt by Moshe Rabbeinu's canopy because we know he's way beyond us. But we understand when the Gemara says that when the rabbi came up to Shemaim and he told his father to get back, I said, Olam Hafuk, I saw an upside down world of people on the bottom here, on the top over there. We're talking about people that, people like yourselves. People that aren't any smarter than you, aren't any more pious than you, didn't come from a better family than you. But you're going to see in the next world that these people really gave it all their effort, and they have an amazing chuppah. And then you say, I could have done that too. I could have used all my talent. And we're talking about in good things. You weren't trying to get away with things. But this reflection is going to motivate you because you want to have that closest relation with Hashem. You want to do the Ratzah Hashem. And you're going to see others succeeded when you didn't. And you're going to say, well, why couldn't I have done it? And that's what's going to bother them. Why didn't I maximize my potential? So he concludes and says, if a person would reflect with this, again, Vadai, certainly, certainly a person who's complete in understanding, will be very careful in his actions. Because by him, success in this Avodas Hashem is paramount in his life. And therefore, he doesn't want to not have everything that he's capable of achieving in his life. Even in the good things, he's always going to be strict in these ways. That is for the Schlimann Hadas. We hope that we would be on that level. Many of us may fall into the next category, the Pchusim made that, and that we're going to look at tomorrow, Mesilas Hashem. Tonight's Parsha class is going to be very relevant to this whole topic and really gets into a lot of psychological elements that are involved in this Avodas HaKodesh. So I have to turn off now so I could start the next class.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you.
Mesilas Hashem, we'll start the Parsha class shortly.
Thank you.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.